The Development Bank of Jamaica supports Jamaican businesses through the provision of access to financing, support services, and a partial guarantee facility. This is the MEGJC Matrix, and in this episode, you have a front row seat to all things DBJ. I'm your host, Danny Clark. We have a full team joining us today from the DBJ. We have Denise Arana, General Manager, Public-Private Partnerships and Privatization Services. Edison Galbraith, General Manager, Channels, Relationships and Marketing. Christopher Brown, Project Management, Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem, BIGEE Project. And Audrey Richards, Private Capital Specialist. Welcome to the DBJ team. How are you all doing today?
We're doing fine.
Sure, you're doing fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. So how are things at the DBJ? Everything is going wonderful. Lots of money to spend and projects to invest in and stuff?
Lots of work to do.
Lots of work to do. That sums it up. So today we're going to be looking at the DBJ. I know that you have many offerings, you have many services, and services that are critical to Jamaica's growth and development, especially on the economic side of things. So I'm going to start with you, Denise. Talk to us about Public-Private Partnership and Privatization Program. That's the P4 program. What is the DBJ's role in that program?
So the DBJ's role essentially is the government's central implementation agency for, and we call it the P4 program because it's easier to say than Public-Private Partnerships and Privatization. So essentially what we do in managing the entire program for the government, we really facilitate private investment in the ownership and management of government-owned assets, and also where public infrastructure and services are required. So if you just look at the meaning of privatization, privatization simply means the transfer of ownership or management control in a government asset from government hands to a private party. Simple, right? And so you can have a straight asset sale where the government no longer owns, and then you have a combination of relationships like leases, PPPs, where the government still owns the asset and the private party has access to and the right to operate the asset. PPPs now are like a different kind of creature. And again, simply put for people to understand, all it is a long-term contract between the government and the private party to provide public infrastructure and services. And obviously the private party takes most of the risk up front, but it simply is roads, to fix the airports, to expand airports. Simply put, that's what the PPP.
So it's all to our benefit?
Absolutely.
All to our
Absolutely.
benefit. So the government is not giving away any asset?
No, Danny.
All right.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, the government is not giving away any assets.
So let me tell you about that. I've been asked that, and many times people rib me about it, like, Denise, you're giving away all the assets. That is absolutely, can I look in the camera? That is absolutely not true. So the process is highly regulated. It has a policy that has been approved by the government of Jamaica. There is a strong institutional framework. It's not DBJ alone. You have Ministry of Finance involved, the Attorney General's chambers. And the process itself is very fair and transparent, right? I always say, any Jamaican has the opportunity to participate. The caveat for that would be that for some transactions that require technical skills and a lot of money, some people may not be able to participate. However, when we do a stock exchange transaction, every single Jamaican can buy Wigton, can buy any other asset that we're putting out there. So I strongly refute the assertion that the government gives away the assets. And the last thing I'd want to say as well is that we have a very robust evaluation process of the bids. We have to produce an evaluation report that has to be sent to the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission are like our best friends, right? So they ask us questions all the time. We give them every single bit of information that we have on projects that we do and sales that we conduct, transactions that we conduct. So
it's properly regulated. It's not DBJ going off on their own or doing what they want.
and it's not just a government on its own doing that as well, because there are a lot of checks and balances. You have to get approvals. There are a lot of stakeholders that you have to engage in the process. So believe you me, fair, transparent, not giving away any assets.
Wonderful. And you touched on the whole idea of the benefit to the ordinary Jamaican. If you can go into that somewhere, and also the benefit, what kind of revenues are we seeing on the part of the government?
So since 2009, right? So that's when DBJ became the agency. It was National Investment Bank of Jamaica before. We have done 35 transactions, and the transaction value is 1.6 million US, and 450 million US of that represents direct revenues to the government from asset sales, leases, concession fees, anything that's coming in, right? So how does this translate to the average Jamaican? When the government earns revenues, they can pay down debt, they can invest directly in public infrastructure and services, social programs, budgetary support, you know. So once that happens, then that translates into what we want to say is a better quality of life for Jamaicans, right? And when private sector with their skills and their upfront money invest in building a new road, expanding the Norman Manley runway, investing in a new water treatment plant, then what does that do? That also increases access. So let's talk about water. When that water treatment plant is done, more Jamaicans will have water. When you travel on a road and you get to Ochi, well, some of us get there in an hour, some will get there in 30 minutes. I don't know, but that increases economic activity, because then you take a shorter time to get from here to Ochi. So I really want Jamaicans to understand that it's not just a thing out there, this program. It actually translates into you having better access to public infrastructure and services, the government reallocating resources from things that they never needed to be in to taking care of the obligations to deal with the people of Jamaica. So I hope that clarifies that kind of link that exists between the program and, you know, people who say, how does that affect me?
Exactly.
It does.
It does. And we can see that clearly. So when you drive on the road, and when you have, we just spoke to the NWC, well, not, you know, before this episode, the episode before this one, we spoke to the NWC and the Rural Water Supply Limited. And so we're now seeing the connectivity in the MEGJC and how all of these agencies actually make sense. It's not just a super ministry for no reason at all.
And guess what? Everybody's working towards that one objective.
One objective.
Jamaican people's lives will be better. Will be improved.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Denise. So now we're going to be moving to access to financing. Everybody wants to hear about the money, right? How can I access money from the DBJ? So, Mr. Galbraith, tell us about access to financing and DBJ's role in that.
Okay, so DBJ plays a critical role in access to finance. Our mandate is really to help every business in Jamaica, from micro, small, medium to large businesses, access financing so that they can grow the economy, create jobs, make it a better place for all of us to live. So we do this in a number of ways. We like to talk about providing capacity, capital, and collateral. We provide capacity to help our small and micro businesses prepare themselves so that they're able to access financing and use that financing. And we do this through our partners who provide technical support, whether it's business plans, financial statements, other kind of support. And to date, we'd have supported over 1,000 of these businesses to, you know, improve themselves. The second part of it is capital, because, you know, you need money to expand your business. Everything from working capital to buying equipment. So what we do, we provide funding through a whole set of financial institutions, because what we're doing is building out the entire network, the entire system across the island. So we have accredited over 40 financial institutions as lending partners, from commercial banks, credit unions, the DBJ has partnered with over 40 institutions
that.
spread all across Jamaica with their branches and their networks. Microfinance companies to help micro enterprises, the really tiny businesses who just need a $50,000 or $100,000. The credit unions across the island, they serve a slightly bigger market. Commercial banks and other lenders who can lend larger amounts. So what we do, we provide dedicated lines of credit. So it's dedicated for micro enterprises, or it's dedicated for small businesses, or it's dedicated for agriculture, or it's dedicated for manufacturing, or whichever sector we're supporting at that point in time. So then the financial institutions know this and they build up their capacity to help. To date, we've done over the last, let's say, 10 years, we've done over 100,000 loans. So 100,000 businesses across Jamaica would have benefited from DBJ money. And that would be over $45 billion. So it's reaching and it's going through the institutions and it's getting all across the island. It's touched every single parish and every single sector.
Almost, I guess, every single family. Because it trickles down.
100,000 loans is, a large part of the business population.
It's significant.
Very significant.
The other part that we look at is collateral. So having helped the businesses to prepare themselves to access the funding, one of the things we found is that the financial institutions generally require something to hold on to. Not everybody has a house wherever or a nice
I also spoke about housing.
Yes. So the DBJ has a facility called the Credit Enhancement Facility, where we provide guarantees to financial institutions who are lending to small and medium-sized businesses. So just in terms of numbers, over 2,000 businesses have benefited over the last couple of years, and they've been able to access $24 billion through 15 institutions.
And the DBJ is on the rooftop shouting that.
We should.
That is big deal,
We do show.
We should.
That's where, right?
That's wonderful news.
Yes.
That's wonderful news. So tell me now, I'm on the street selling banana chips, bag juice, some small stuff on the side of the road. How do I approach a DBJ to improve my business and increase my business?
All right. So the first thing you can do is call DBJ if you need to. 876-619-4000. You'll be able to get to our switchboard through that. We're on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, all of the platforms. So our information is out there for people to get. We also advertise fairly extensively.
What would they need, or they need to call you first, and then you tell them what they need?
They can call.
Because you have to assess them first and see and then you'll be able to tell them their general requirements.
What we do is a pre-screening. So when somebody calls us and they want some money to, let's say, do a banana chips factory, or yes, they want some money to buy a bag of banana chips and go and sell it, a big pack, then we'll talk them through the process. We'll also handhold them and find the best institution for them. If it's a microfinance company, is it a credit union, is it a commercial bank, depending on what is it that they need and how prepared they are. And then we'll actually introduce them to the business bankers or the lending officers at the institutions and walk them through the process. So we've provided a lot of support in that regard to get our micro businesses through the door, because not all the time they'll be able to meet the commercial banking standard.
Right. Yes.
So we move down the line if they need to the credit union, and we take them to the microfinance company to get them funded.
I'm happy to know that you're lending support right along the way. So you don't just say, all right, we can't really help you, or go to so-and-so and see if they can help you. But you are there guiding them along the way to ensure that they realize their goal. That's wonderful. And in terms of interest rates, what's different from the DBJ's interest rate as opposed to a commercial bank?
Right. So the interesting thing about it is DBJ has a philosophy that, it's not necessarily the cost of the money, it's your access to the funding. So it's really access to financing, how quickly you can get the money. So as I said, we partner with over 40 financial institutions across Jamaica. And, our loans will go out at rates around starting at 9.5% for small businesses seeking up to $30 million, and they can get that money up to 10 years. For larger businesses, if they want 200 million, thereabout, they can get it at 10.5%. So it's within the range of the financial institutions currently. And I'll tell you, in some cases, financial institutions may go lower, but that's a part of our mandate to try and get the institutions to fund micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. So it's something that we're very, let me say, supportive of, to get the financial institutions supporting the businesses, so everybody doesn't have to come to one location at DBJ. They can get money from any institution across Jamaica.
Okay, wonderful. Well, you're hearing some good news. You're getting some good information here. DBJ, they are the owners. They are the powerhouse, the enablers behind a lot of the connectors, if you may, behind a lot of what is happening in terms of economic growth and development in Jamaica. When we come back, we'll be going a little deeper into the services that they offer.
What is urban renewal? The government is on a mission to transform your local towns and cities, from park upgrades that bring families closer to nature, to community beautification projects that celebrate our culture. We're creating safe, inclusive, and sustainable public spaces.
The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Building hope, building Jamaica.
Welcome back, and we are continuing our conversation with the DBJ, and I'm going right back to Mr. Edison because he was talking to us about some loan facility that I want to hear more about. You said something about guaranteed? You said something about that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So the Credit Enhancement Facility provides guarantees to help small businesses. So let's look at it this way. You might want $5 million to borrow, and you don't have the collateral to put up. You don't have a house, you don't have a piece of land, a title. So the DBJ will actually guarantee a part of the loan for small businesses. And as I said, we've already done over 2,000 of these. So a small business can get a guarantee of up to $30 million, covering 80% of the loan. We have a guarantee where 80% of the loan. We have another guarantee where they can get up to, if they're borrowing up to $11 million, they can get a guarantee of $10 million, covering up to 90% of the loan. For startups, we'll go up to $5 million. So they can get covered 90% of the loan amount up to $5 million. So it provides a lot of support to businesses where they need that piece of equipment to expand. They need some working capital, but they just don't have a title to offer or something that the bank will take. So as I said, 15 of our lenders already have been using this and delivered over 2,000 loans, $24 billion backed by DBJ's guarantee.
Wonderful. That's significant. That's wonderful. Mr. Brown, going to segue over to you now. There's much talk about the BIGEE Programme, BIGEE. What is that about?
All right, so the BIGEE Programme is DBJ's intervention program for entrepreneurship and innovation. So we believe strongly that in order to facilitate economic growth, we need to have a better entrepreneurship culture. So the BIGEE Programme provides a number of different solutions to help drive entrepreneurship. So Edison made mention of building capacity amongst entrepreneurs. So in order to get a loan, you need to be able to run your business properly, or to get money, right? So the BIGEE Programme provides grants, technical assistance, which is like training, hand-holding, coaching, support, to businesses so that they can be better able to run their business and then better able to qualify for financing, whether that's loans or equity, which Audrey will talk about. So we have about 8 different programs that provide grants of up to, I think right now we're about up to 20 million, depending on the size of the business, to support innovation. So if you have a new idea and you want to bring that to market, something novel, you can get access to a grant to help you to build out the prototype, test it in the market, really try and get it on the ground so that you can start making some money from it, right? And employ more people and grow. So BIGEE is what DBJ is using to improve entrepreneurship and create opportunities for entrepreneurs at all stages of their business. As I said, from an idea, you could be in business and you want to grow it. You could be established and you want to now get into export markets. There are different programs for different businesses at those stages that the BIGEE program support.
That sounds good for persons in the creative industries as well. You know, that's a person doing production and stuff like that wants to enhance or improve their output, then they could really reach out to the DBJ.
Right. So we have our program. Ignite is a program I think most people may be familiar with. It's our grant technical assistance program for early stage companies, so companies less than 4 years in business. And the last cohort we did, right now we're working with 50 companies. I think about 8 of them are in the creative space, offering many different services. And what they've pitched to us, why we found it interesting to fund, is that they're bringing something new to the market, right? It could be a new application, just a new service that they're offering, a new way to deliver something. And that's the type of thing we really want to encourage in Jamaica. Growth going to come from bringing novel things that can, have greater potential to earn and be bigger businesses.
Wonderful. Talk to us about the GCF, the Green Climate Fund. We hear this term going about all the place, and if I don't know what GCF is, then I don't care about it. What is it, and what is it to the ordinary Jamaican?
GCF. So the Green Climate Fund, DBJ just got accredited, so approved to access money from the Green Climate Fund. It's a fund, global fund that has a whole lot of money for environmental and climate initiatives. So DBJ got approved to get money from that entity.
So that's a big deal.
Very,
So you give DBJ a round of applause.
Big
Big deal. Congratulations.
I can speak about how big it is, as in the accreditation or the approval status that we have is amongst the top 6 in the world.
Wow.
So we can access a lot of money for Jamaica, which we intend to do over the next couple of years. So what that means is climate mitigation, resilience, environmental management, could be energy. We are accessing funding that we're going to put to the markets so people can be able to borrow for those types of projects. I'm sure we'll have grant programs as well. We're probably going to support equity programs. So what we're doing is providing a new source of funding for projects to drive sustainable development. You spoke about economic development, that we can't live in a world that we're just making money and killing it at the same time.
Exactly.
Right? So businesses need to be conscious that there is an effort for them to do it in a sustainable way, and DBJ will have money specifically for businesses to be able to access that. So that's what it means for Jamaica. And
so many of the agencies within the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, this is good news for us.
No, true.
Water.
So I can tell you it's good news for the PPP program as well, because when the tenders come in and we identify the concessionaires, GCF can fund them, right? So it's good news.
Right. Water, as you mentioned, water is a big topic. Like, it's something that, Jamaica constantly tries to improve. And I'm sure with the GCF funding, there are a number of water projects that will see coming through the public sector, even private sector players as well, to improve, as we mentioned, the quality of lives for people.
For Jamaicans, increasing access to potable water. Wonderful. Audrey, jumping straight to you, because, we're moving. There's a lot happening in DBJ now. We could take the entire day to talk to the DBJ team. So, Audrey, you're going to talk to us now about the operation of SME funds and venture capital and private capital program. What is all of this? Explain to the ordinary Jamaican like myself.
Okay, what it is access to equity capital. I think most persons understand loans. And really, as a country, a region, and I mean across the world too, the loan markets is what a lot of people understand. They go to the bank, they get a loan, and so on. What has been missing in our capital markets is access to equity capital, because not everybody can qualify for a loan, right? And whether you have too much debt, and when the bank looks on your balance sheet and say, okay, you have too much debt, we can't lend you anymore. Your cash flow is not going to be enough. And, so businesses at different stages, whether you're a startup or maybe even a family-owned business that has been around for decades, if you're now looking to expand, to grow, you need access to a different kind of capital. And that is what private equity and venture capital, this is what the markets bring. Everybody has heard of Silicon Valley. No, Silicon Valley didn't just come up by lending through the commercial banks. It was investors who actually put in venture capital in a lot of these tech companies. You talk about your Facebooks and so on. It was venture capital that funded most of these. Now, the venture capitalists don't just come with money. They come with what is called smart capital. They come with the kind of support, the kind of access to networks, the kind of advice, sitting on the boards of businesses that they invest in, to give them the benefit of the venture capitalists' knowledge set, to be able to, for the, say, an early stage business, to get the benefit of somebody who has been in this for many years, to get them to access networks, new markets, and so on. This is what it's a holistic, smart capital, and it's patient capital too, in that, unlike a bank,
You just said patient capital.
very patient, because it's an investor who is investing along with you, maybe as a shareholder in your business, and that investor is looking for the returns down the road, working with you to develop your business, so your business to grow. And as your business grow, their investment grows along with your business. So we've seen a lot of companies being listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. A lot of them would have been funded through the private markets. And once they've reached a particular stage, then they would be able to list and do an IPO. Everybody's heard about IPOs. You'll be able to do an IPO, but if you can't, if your business is not structured properly, if your markets are not, where they need to be, if your governance is not where it needs to be, this is what a private capital investor brings into the business to get you structured properly, to get you on the right path, the growth path, to actually then be able to do an IPO. Or if you don't want to do an IPO, at least you have a business that is growing. So this is what has been missing out of, the Jamaican capital markets. Not everybody has a rich uncle or a rich aunt like Denise to be able to invest in your business.
I wonder if I'd be here.
Right? So the private capital markets, which is what DBJ has supported, is what's going to create that. And just before I explain to you what DBJ has done, let me just stick up in here. Everybody knows JMMB, the JMMB Group. JMMB Group was started in a room probably around this size by Joan Duncan in the early 90s. And she was funded by the Jamaica Venture Fund, which was Jamaica's first venture capital fund. And that is, as a startup, she wasn't able to go and get a loan from the bank. She had to go to an investor and a fund, and that fund invested in her. And the head of that fund was the chairman of her board and worked alongside the entrepreneur, which was Joan Duncan, in order to grow that business. And we see where JMMB is now, right? We see where Facebook is now. These are entities that were funded through the private capital markets. And this is what we want to be able to encourage in Jamaica. So seeing that this was a gap, this was the work that DBJ undertook a few years ago to actually develop the private capital, what we call the ecosystem. Because it's not just about putting money into the environment. It's also about how do we get people to understand what it's all about, the knowledge building, the training that we have to give right across the board. So it was the work with entrepreneurship BIGEE is doing has expanded significantly the work with entrepreneurs, because these entrepreneurs, getting them, perhaps the grant to be able to develop on their idea, to then have something that they can actually pitch to an investor. It's all related. So you develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem. The entrepreneurs are much better prepared to then access capital, whether it's from loans or from private capital funds. And DBJ has invested in a number of these funds as an anchor investor. And having invested in these funds, we don't invest directly into the business, but we invest in funds. And these fund managers raise capital from other sources. They raise capital from pension funds, from other businesses, from high net worth individuals. And having a pool of funds, this is when they then invest in businesses.
This is wonderful news. I mean, it appears as though I'll have to invite the DBJ to come back, because we have not even touched the tip of the iceberg. We still have a lot more to talk about. So, and what I love is the fact that you cater to every segment of the society. And you don't leave them hanging. You hold their hands as a parent with a child, and you take them through the support system that you mentioned, Audrey, is very important. And all of you would have mentioned that support system, the guidance, and that's very, very good. And keep up the good work. Keep up, doing some significant things, spending some big money. And one day I'll start my own little business, and I'll come and to the BIGEE Programme. Until I get to the venture part. Right? Until I get to the
BIGEE will help you to get to the point to access funding from, equity finance here.
Definitely. And listen, many, many, many businesses in Jamaica have benefited from the DBJ. You see some businesses out there doing very well. They may not tell you that it's a DBJ, but we're going to get some of them to tell you that it's the DBJ. So you have a small business, you can benefit. You have a micro, you have a large, you can benefit from the DBJ. So thank you for tuning into the MEGJC Matrix. Thank you so very much for being here today, DBJ team, and see you again very soon.
All right.
Wonderful. So we invite you to connect with the MEGJC on all socials at MEGJC_JM, and of course, be sure to connect with DBJ at DB Jamaica. Until next time, I'm your host, Dani Clark.